I just want to be Phil Donahue. Is the caller there? Okay, Chicago. What are you gonna say, Chicago? So here's this guy that's asking me about this breakout strategy. Now, I don't know if anybody's into psychological detection, but I just want to say that I know this guy, and there's a perfectionistic. If you're a perfectionist, you're in a heap of trouble. You're not going to win every trade, and there is no holy grail. There's no system that is going to let you place orders. That hey, everything's great. Not to mention the fact that everything I'm talking about on these breakout trades, there is literally, unless you have. There is stuff out there where you can go and get the ask prices. So the thing is that we don't know the ask. We only know the bid. If the spread is fixed on your broker, then you do know. So you want to get a fixed pip account. Maybe if you're trading breakout strategy, you want a fixed pip account because this is so critical to and I guess this guy's back testing. So the thing is that you have to realize that just because you opened a store and you're selling really hot looking robot chicks that you know is going to sell off the shelves because nobody wants to be in a real relationship anymore, that you know some people are going to take it in the hot tub with them and think they can drink champagne with her, and then she's going to short circuit. They're going to come back and they'll say, well, you said, yeah, okay, whatever. You're going to take a hit. You're going to take a loss. There is no, in fact, you're just the idea that you're going to, there is no, now he says here on this breakout thing, he's got a screenshot here. He's saying that you would have got in here too. Now, okay, I would have got in there. If you really want to be like, if you want to do it like that, if you're worried about, okay, there's no end to how far you can slice this puppy. There is no end. Now, this is the 15-minute chart, I think, and maybe it is a 1 hour chart, but that doesn't matter because let's imagine you built a robot, or you are the robot. If you get in here heavier because you're in a narrow range, okay, if you get in heavier here because you're in narrow range, you made so much fucking money here. And now, presupposing there's so much going on here, and this thing here is actually a hedge that got in. This thing actually hedged in. This was not a breakout. I was running on this particular broker. This actually locked in. There's so many ways to play this that it literally, you're talking about when people try to figure out what the Bible says, they're like, yeah, but it says here that you can, yeah, I know, but if you go to the derivation of, so you're caught in this giant maze of, well, this is how Bill Clinton, who's on this speaking tour, the most famous thing ever said in the history of politics, in my opinion, is when Bill Clinton's attorney said, it depends on what the definition of is. And the reason why that's the funniest quote is because he's using the word is to describe the issue of the definition of a word that has basically, just like in trading, a million offshoots. And it's, in other words, context is everything. And certainly, you're not going to if you're looking for, if this is 10 pips, I'm going to paint a fantasy scenario here that you have a robot that can distinguish between a 10 pip zone, a 9 pip zone, an 8 pip zone, a 7 pip zone, and a whatever, down to it's dead in the fucking water. And if the market's in a 2-pip zone for 3 minutes on a bar chart, imagine these are 1 pips and your spread is ECN and you have no spread. Your spread is so small, you're just paying commissions. So every time you pull the trigger, you know, okay, well, it's costing me something. You just, you know, it's going to cost you something. There's no end to it. The robot, I'm speaking of an ultimate robot where you can put it in the hot tub, that it's going to get in here on something and it's already out before it even gets to this breakout. It's made something. Now, how big is that trade? Oh my God. Now you fall down a rabbit hole of like, how big is that trade? What I'm trying to illustrate here is in a mechanical trading system, you are going to get butchered. If you took this trade here, and this is a 15-minute chart, we don't know, like, in other words, if you got filled on the sell side here, if you drop that order here and 15 minutes go by, that order may have disappeared. Now, I was watching this happen. I was actually trading real money with this, the script that I published. I was trading real money with it, and I made money. Now, this is too big of a bar, and I'm just speaking in terms of if you were a robot and you were able to trade like an EA, you would have placed an order here maybe, but not here because this is just... Of course, this is 10 pips, but from all this stacking up, you've placed... This guy's talking about all these ratios saying, well, if you do this and that. But listen, if you have 4 in here, you're in 4 contracts here, or 4 tickets, or 4 lots. You made so much money here. The fact that you lose on this trade, and you're not going to be able to backtest this, because we don't know what the spread was during this phase. The ask is here. Never forget, when you look at this chart, this is not where you get filled on your buy stops. You get filled up here. You get filled late. Here, your sell stops, if you're going to trade, and this is a fixed pip broker I was trading. This is not. This broker's tight. If you had your sell stop here, you got filled if it was still there after 15 minutes. If it was there after an hour, maybe your 1 hour sell stops, and this is all contingent on so much stuff. They call these contingency orders. When you were trading in... the first time I heard of this style of trading where you have a contingency order, in other words, the order's got a certain time decay. Not to mention, if you know you're going up, I'm also presupposing that you're not just trading this breakout strategy solely alone, trying to make $1 zillion, although you could do pretty good. You're going to do pretty good here. Say you have buy limits hand placed on the round. Okay, well, you're long off of this, and your buy stop bot didn't get triggered here because this ATR is too big. You're making money from all types of different customers. You don't just have people that come in. There's guys that come in. Now, I've been making teeth for people for years. So I had this big guy come in, and he wanted to have his lower front. He needed his lower front tooth fixed. I almost think, I don't want to judge him, but I think he was in a bar fight. And so I did custom shades for, my coffee screwed up. I got custom shades for people's mouths because I'm really an artist. No offense to people. Just to let you know, I'm maybe an autist. I'm autistic. But so the guy comes in and he's like, I mean, I thought the shade was off on his tooth. We hand him the mirror. He holds up the mirror for 40 milliseconds. He puts the mirror down. And he goes, "It's okay." I go, "You don't even care." Like, now the guy wasn't that. He was not some type of really good-looking guy. He's a big bruiser. But I thought, there you go. You know, Now, I could have sat there and said to this guy, listen, I know you think it looks okay, but I think it sucks. I want to remake it. Why would I fight the trend? Why would I fight this guy's opinion? So a lot of this comes down to your personality is involved in your trading, whether you like it or not. So if you're a stubborn person, which, see, I'm a stubborn person, I'm a critical person, I'm a why not person. If somebody says you can't do that, I go, oh really? Watch me. So I'm into brinksmanship. I'm not into this, oh, I heard you, okay, well, I won't do that then. No, I'm going to fucking do it. Let's go there. Let's see what happens. So I'm into the romance of it, or I wouldn't be with, I wouldn't have, I'd have more money. All the psycho babes, I'd have more money. But I kind of have to go there. But if you can look over your own shoulder and see that you're that person, you're going to go there, then you can say, hey, you know what? I can wear the other hat. I can be one of these conservative. I could trade the, this is how you grow, I suppose, right? In other words, if you go to the gym and you keep doing the same routine, your body's going to learn that. You're never going to get any type of, you're never going to really grow because the same angle's coming at you and you're going to atrophy the rest of your body. Sure, you can go to that machine and lift weights. And the machine they got these machines now. Oh, here's your, you're putting, yeah, but guess what? In the real world, if you lift a free weight, you're going to have to balance it and all these other muscles are involved. You're not just lifting with your biceps. You have to stand in a certain position. If you go to a bicep machine, you're isolating that one muscle. So if you just trade breakouts, okay, but I'm presupposing in this video, I hope everybody realizes that there is no, okay, I gotta stop bot running. That's it. I'm going to the beach. Well, no, because there's structured trades. There is the painfully obvious triple top. If you believe in wicks as being tops, there is the painfully obvious double top. On the clock, I don't know if this is the half hour or whatever. Let me see, what the hell is this? I think this is a 15-minute chart. So you've got this, and I'm sure this looks like an amazing climax at the round number on the 1 hour chart. And maybe you've got 20 monitors up, and you've got the 5 minute here, the 15, and you're watching this whole thing unfold. You're still stuck with the fact that you're a human being pulling the trigger. And should I launch this thing? Well, the nice thing about mechanical trading is that if you're an undisciplined person, you're forced to say, well, I got my range here. Now, granted, there is structure going on here. This top's becoming a bottom. But if I put a buy limit here and I never get filled, because you can see you would have never got filled, you're proof positive you never got filled if you placed it here. If you placed it here, I don't even think you got filled on that. Because if the spread was too wide, just because the bid came down to this doesn't mean the ask got there. And without chasing the market, now I hate to chase stuff, so this lets you off the hook psychologically because you just say, well, I'm not breaking any of my rules. I have a range entry here. So maybe I didn't get filled in my structure, but I have the structures there. I mean, I know that the people that sold here, when it comes back to here, they're like, I don't think it, like, and especially the longer this goes sideways, what are people thinking that sold here going, oh, it's going to go down? They're bearish. They're like, you know what? It's not getting any better. Let's get the hell out. Let's go flat. Let's take our losses. Or the robot's doing that. These robots are all programmed by people. All you're seeing is execution by somebody's pre-programmed belief system. Now, this is a structure entry here, but you may not have got filled there either. If you were here, okay, so let's take a look at this. your buy limit's sitting on close, and maybe you have a more no fill. If your buy limit's more aggressive sitting on the treetops, maybe no fill there neither. You're getting this trend, and I'm not going to say that this is like you're going to make a ton of money here. This is the end of a session, 15-minute chart. As far as money goes, you need to be trading big enough to make this worth your while, obviously, right? Jeez. So let's imagine, for argument's sake, that, but you really want to be trading more than one strategy, but you could have a stop. I don't know who's. Apparently, nobody's written a stop bot. I don't see it. I see a bunch of ridiculous stuff out there, and besides, I don't know if you want an EA run on this stuff. For people that, if this was a daily chart, then stop entries, I don't know. I don't think I'd want to do it. I think I want to place limits. But this is not a ton of money here. But if you're trading big enough, you're making some kind of money. And the thing is, down at the bottom of this, I can't see the bottom of that, but here you can see you would have made money, right? Because obviously it went off the charts to the downside here. So I didn't mark this off. But if I actually, and I'm assuming the spread here is probably pretty calm because the market's not crazy. But the spreads can be super tight in these big moves too, because a lot of people rush in, and the spread gets tight because there's more participation. The spreads are wide in Asia sometimes, so even though if this is Asia, the spreads could be wide here. And then you're going to have problems with, there's a lot going on. And this is why if you're on the euro with a 2-pip fixed pip, I'd say if you were going to trade this thing, you're going to find a fixed pip broker that gives you a 2 to 3 pip fixed pip spread. This way, when you look at the chart in hindsight, you would know that all your buy stops are here. 3 pips. You can put a 3-pip grid up here, or you would have put up a 2-pip grid. This is 10. So if you put 2 on top, then you can imagine. Of course, you're just imagining that the ask is always here. And if you're going to buy, right, the broker's saying you have to buy the ask. You actually have to buy above the ask. So you're buying here. When the market goes like this, you're going to have to pay this. This is why when the market is down here, this is the 15-minute chart. On the 5-minute chart, you're seeing baby bars. You really want to drop that breakout script here. You're in a narrow range. You don't want, if you drop it here, you're in on that ride. There's so much, like, in other words, when the market's going down, I think I said this in a couple of videos, when the market's going down, you want to be buying on stops. You want to be placing that buy order, ideally, if you're babysitting this thing, which you have to be if you're trading this mechanical style in 15. As soon as it comes down here, if you're not getting filled on your buy limits, you're precisely placed, you're like, damn it. Or you just pull the fucking trigger of the market. But if you feel like you want a confirmation entry, that's another reason why psychologically people trade this stops. If you put a buy stop and a sell stop here, maybe this is going to come down and crush through, and it's just gonna, that's it, that's the top, just like this was the top. This could just have easily broken out the other way. And if you know why it's not going to go up, then email me later. But anything can happen. I guess you just have, every moment's unique, every next moment. And here, market's going up. When the market's going up, now, the video that I did about this, it's really a hedged breakout system. Markets like this breaks out. What if you just stop entry from It's quiet, now put in buy stops. It's quiet, now put in sell stops. Because it's up, which means you should sell. It's down, means you should buy. If it goes down, buy. If it goes up, sell. Now this is against what people would say. It's going up, I want to buy. You hear traders, and a lot of people say, not a lot of people, but I've heard traders say, oh, I want to make sure, I want to see it go up before I buy. It's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. I want to see, yeah, well, because you want to make sure that it's really going up. But aren't you just chasing it? Well, the psychological workaround is, well, I'll buy on a stop this way. You know what? Let them pick me up in the tide. The first bar that closes down, you start running buy stops, say. Forget the sell stop side. And if you're wrong and it keeps tanking, you will not get filled. Not trading. Mark Douglas, in one of his videos, says, not trading is money in the bank. Yeah, because your account is sitting there with money. Dry powder for the next go-around. If you get filled on this buy stop and you get filled on this buy limit, you're in, whatever, 2 positions, 2 tickets. And maybe you bought every 15 minutes that it went down, so you bought here at the market, you bought here at the market, you bought here at the market. Hopefully this is what you're doing. You're buy, buy, buy. Maybe you got this fill and you got stops running. Now you're in 6 tickets. And maybe you dump the whole thing here, boom, you're out. Nobody talks about entry, nobody talks about money. In any of these videos, very few people will say, okay, well, obviously here, even after the market's here, we want to get in a pullbacks. Where are we going to get in? Right here, buy limits. If we don't fill, well, maybe I put a buy stop here. Now, this is certainly high risk, but in the end, you were right. Better to wait, better to buy low, sell high, better to have it come down, get in. Here, so here they would have trapped you. What he's saying here is that, oh, see, you would have filled here too and trapped and based on ratios. And so you go back to his comment here. And another thing is that since you can read, you don't have to know this person to read. Okay, so I'm going to go back to his comment here. He's saying, now I'm going to do a little psychological read between the lines here, as they say. This guy, you got to understand that your personality and may not be a good fit sometimes for the chaos of the market. A timer makes sense, especially on the, now there is no, it doesn't matter, Asian session, all currencies, if you look at the Asian session, and I love the guys that say, well, Ikamushu works better on Asian session because, those people, the rice fields, and, So a timer makes sense. I don't think it matters whether you're on the, on this, pair, it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter what, and actually the timer part of it is the fact that it's just decaying. This is irregardless to any, this is why this works in all situations where the market's quiet. So this is a range, it's a breakout strategy. So as long as the market's trading sideways, you can run this stuff. The precision that this guy has, I realize that you have to go and have all these kind of like, well, let me really look at this string, drill down. Timer makes sense, especially on the, well, I don't know about that. Okay, trade on the 1 hour chart between, now, when he gets into these time zones like this, I know this guy, maybe he's watching my video, he's a really nice guy. He's over in, he's trading out of Australia, but he's Asian. And he trades the Asian session, and I think he makes money. Of course, the Asian session's quiet. On all markets, the spreads can be really crappy on a floating pip, a floating spread broker. And because there's not a lot of people tugging at the currency, so there's not this big, there's low volume, so that the spreads are wide. And so this idea that there's some type of magic time, whether that you kind of know that's quiet on all pairs, usually when the market's calm. When the market moves smoothly into one or the other direction without too many retraces, well, that happened on the, if you look at the British pound on the 5 or 15 minute chart for the last day, like on Friday, you would have made so much money on this breakout strategy because the market literally did not turn around for nothing. No how, no way. Take a look at this British pound chart. Bring up the pound and take a look at this, and you tell me if this didn't clean up. And even on this bar chart, this is out of the box. Not a higher high on this thing. 1 hour down. Go to the 15. Look at this thing. Are you kidding me? Look at this. Here they kicked you out a little bit, but look at that thing. Just not, look at this. Just boom. But I mean, ridiculous. This is a 100 pip grid. This is 200 pips. Are you kidding me? Now, if any of these, before the party got started here, 5 minute chart. Never took a breath. Here's your entry on the 5 minute stop entry bot. Never a higher high till here. Never a higher high. This is crushing down. This is, you should see this on the guppy. This is psychosis. Now, if your buy stops are trailing above, okay, your first fill scalp. But you could say, oh well, if your stops weren't right, yeah. If all, there's so many ifs. And of course, this is the problem I think that this guy's having, is that the expectation that this is some type of perfect environment. It's just not. In the 1 hour world, so say you were this here. This is Sunday night. So here's Asia right here. Every time you see that dotted line, this is coming into this time zone he's talking about. Well, here they screwed you. Unless you got the hell out. This is 100 pips from here to here. It's 100 pips, but this is Sunday night Asia. Yeah, they kicked you out, but you have to be aware of the fact that you're looking for that. This is when the market makers establish the range and stuff, and they're going to go and they're going to grab that stop. This is your buy limit, though. Like, and this is all the money you make, and then you have your sell limits hand placed up here, I hope. But yeah, during this quiet phase here, here's Asia again, here's Asia, here's the Asia, here's Asia. Now Asia here on the 1 hour with broader ratios, okay, your stop entries are here, you cleaned house. Now there are people that will trade that. They'll put in, I'm going to put a stop in here, I'm going to put a stop, I don't know which way it's going. The whole point of this style is I don't know what's going to happen. You don't have to know where the market's going to make money. That's the premise. And that's true. Sell stops here, and this is the 1 hour. Who's making money? When it comes ripping back to this, where everybody bought here, yeah, this is the structure entry for the limits, but big range on coming out of Asia, it tightens up. You put in the stops. Now here you would have wished that you had targets of 300 pips on that. Maybe your exit was to get out here in the first structure break of that thing, right? That was enough. Oh, look, it's like one of those bat wings. I'm seeing a cipher. What do you say? We buy down. You know, just a cipher going to blow you out, right? There's no fucking holy grail. That if you were building your bat wing, oh, I'm getting a perfect. if you don't think there's people that are saying crap like that, oh, I think I see a Gartley who doesn't see this pattern, advanced pattern. I bought here. Oof, I'm down 200 pips. So, or whatever. I don't know how these people are doing this stuff. I don't want to know. But that's it. Now, going back to this guy's comment here, because it's quite involved, and I think just the fact that there's so much, Mike, you just have to. There's a difference between a concept and execution. So conceptually, yeah, looks good on paper, right? You're trading breakouts, you're like, oh, great. Of course, there is always the, I think it's been said, and I think a lot of people believe that there is no 100% winning system. But later on, I want to do this thing. There was this guy I found out here who has a 100% winning system, and you put $200 in and you make $5,000 in 1 week. It's hysterical. We would all wish that there was not any retraces, right? We all wish that the market would just go markets like this, sideways. This is the dream trade. Market sideways, breaks out, down. I just made a ton of money. It's never going to go and bump you and cut you out. And then I think, I don't know if somebody said this in the other, but a lot of people will run a trailing money management tool that is going to run a trailing stop and get you out. It's going to manage that thing. So you'd be out of the whole trade by here maybe, or partially out. But that's also a bottomless pit as money management. I mean, there's a whole world onto itself. So, but I understand the concerns here because, and if people want to back test the strategy, we just look at the chart. Like I said, you can't back test the ask. You don't know what the buy stops are gonna, or even the protection when you drop that. And it really is, you can just trade it from one direction too, if you don't want to get trapped. But this is for a non-directional trading, I guess, because if you knew where it was going, why would you put in the sell stop if you thought it was going up? I suggest using a trailing stop. Okay, well but that's also going to, you might lose some big moves due to retraces. See, this is the caveats. There's caveats upon caveats. And along with this comment is the fact that maybe you should have had wider take profits on the British pound when it dropped 200 pips on Friday. I don't know if you can. You probably could write for every scenario, or you just accept the fact that you're willing to make 100 pips and maybe let the rest ride. Or if you can see it coming, another thing to do is have a bunch of hand-placed fixed where I'm literally going to make, if you hand-placed all of those orders, but that's not what the script that I posted was just for that one flavor of ice cream. There is no, like, oh, what if we put, but we didn't put whipped cream on that, right? It's that in a bowl, go for it. Now later on, you could have that, right? And then of course, well, how much can you eat, right? How big is your account? How much can you possibly load in there? And then how are you going to, and forget back testing, how about forward testing? If you have an account dedicated to stop entry technique, and that's all that account does is test out that in real time with real money or fake money, you're like, okay, well, every time I get that set up, I'm hitting the button, and you're somewhat aware of structure, but you're willing to realize you could be wrong. So you are going to run this, if you're going to stick to the discipline of running that. Now, as time goes on and the 15-minute orders are decaying, then you have no exposure if the market should reverse. So that is just in that one aspect there, if that order lasted for an hour, it's completely different than if it lasted for a half hour. It's going to play out completely different to quite a different statistical. If you look at the math on that playback, you're going to be, it's a completely different ratio. But the idea that you're going to hunt down the perfect ratio and this is perfectionistic mindset, trying to. And if you're going to never trade until you completely confirm that this puppy's going to make X, then you're in a heap of trouble, because you should just be looking at the chart in terms of, okay, where are we at now? Like the British pound, who's not buying 100 pips? If we go down 100 pips, who's not going to buy down there? So you just put your limit down there and walk away. You can still come back and trade this strategy. So you can have all this stuff coexisting. It's not an all or nothing gig like, well, okay, so I got the stop bot, that's it, I quit. Because I don't think it's going to get trapped. The market's not smooth. So suggest using a trailing stop. So you might lose big, but you also might miss out on these 60 pips move if your targets aren't set right. That was trail stopped out and not reached my 80 pip move. Consequent stop loss. You need 80 pip targets if you set the thing to there. Got to cover up for choppy markets. The one leg of the trade, you lose in order to make up on the other leg. Looks like an insane ratio, but otherwise, you really lose money. Well, of course. And not to mention the fact that depending on how the market chops out of that gate, so here's your range, you get in, and it gets like, and I mean, there's so much that can happen, and every trade is going to be unique like snowflakes. Everyone's going to be different, and the future doesn't equal the past. You could backtest it, but a lot of stuff can happen there. And yeah, you do have to set that ratio if you're going to bracket this, but if you set the ratio too high, now you have unrealistic expectations of targets out of each leg. You may never hit that. This is why and you're probably babysitting the market if you're trading on stops. So when you see that, you know what, we're not getting there, or you're like, you know what, close all profits. This is another thing, is that if you backtest this, you can't backtest close all profits. Like if you see that this is just not really, it's not going anywhere, and you're up on the trade and you know that you've got sell limits up here. I mean, it's so complicated from the standpoint, if you've got sell limits up here, so you got a sell grid up here that's going to decay in an hour. You're in this trade, you're like, oh, you know what? And besides, I got sell limits up there, and it gets very complicated. But of course, if you don't have the sell limits up there, it isn't. But if you're going to be a diversified trader and trade breakouts, you're going to trade limits for the retraces, you're going to trade retraces from down here back to this fair value. If you consider this fair value, for whatever reason, it gets very complicated very quickly. And of course, you just trade one, change one cog in the wheel, and it's an exponential change in the landscape of everything you're doing. So, yeah, but you could have, so if you're just trading single legs, you don't need as an insane exit. You can buy stop entry, you get out, you get out, you get out, you get out as it's going up. Because I like to go flat. In a perfect world, it goes up, it bursts out, you're flat at the top order, boom, wait for it to pause, maybe put in sell stops beneath, right? And when it's going up, you're selling. When it's going down, you're buying. This is a constantly the ebb and flow. overall, this strategy has a rather poor profit rate factor. Now, we don't know what the fills would be. And this is where the science, it's just too hard to say stuff like this because, and of course, how much money is this, though, at that ratio? And and then he says here, over a couple of years. Wow. Now he posts the stats over a couple years. You cannot. This is why you can go down this road, but you're really it's too much. This is like trying to build a spaceship to go to Mars, and you're trying to take into account maybe an asteroid hits you. You can't slice it that why does this keep jumping that way? You can't slice it that thin. It's like if you slice it too thin, you can't make a sandwich out of it. You can hardly pick up the pieces. So at the best with tight spread on the now he's picking out this specific currency, and granted, if you were on the guppy, you cannot be sitting here waiting for it. You can, but it's a completely different world. You do get 10 pip. In fact, if you look at the guppy, as wild as it is, and if you got a good spread on that guppy, this on the guppy, the same script on the guppy is a whole different thing. Now you're going to go through all the pairs, and if you're going to trade this ratio on this, then in the whole basket of everything you're trading, and then were you able to execute? Do you have enough computer screens up? You start to go down these rabbit holes of, and not like I haven't gone down the rabbit hole this guy's going down. Like, you're here. What if I would have gone there? This is the parallel universe theory, right? Well, there's another universe where you're actually, you're married to a girl that's not of her mind. But, there's so much, and then, wow, all these possible scenarios. Here, you are here, and a lot of what ifs in there. Bottomless pit. And so here we have the at least he's using the same spelling as the other guy, loose money. These Europeans, you're going to take that 1L out. So the overall strategy is rather poor. Well, I'm not happy to hear that. Couple of years, still nice thing to add to buy sell limits. That's a whole nother problem too, to its own. And how tight are those, and what are the ratios? And I guess this is why the empowered trading is trading at Gartley, because you only have like this one thing you're like waiting for to land on the moon in this particular crater. At least you're sort of always in the market. Right. Well, now this is another thing. Psychologically, the feeling that your money's working for you, right, helps against the fear of missing out. Keep your money working for you. Now, here, so he posted the printout of that. I started off with the printout of this. Yes, assuming that the ratios are better, 2-to-1, and I wish I could type this much. I cannot type. I wouldn't. This is why I'm doing a video, because I just don't want to type all this stuff and spell check and geez. If you have to get in there too, because it's a small candle, and there you lose. How do you cover up? You have bigger ratios. If you have bigger ratios, then the first trade you explained wouldn't make money, since you don't reach the bigger ratio. But that's what you need. See, you need to backtest this. No, I don't. I wouldn't bother. This is the problem I'm having. Backtest. Don't do it. Put $100 in an account. Trade penny accounts. Trade cent account. Trade a dollar account. Trade a micro account. Because the biggest obstacle is going to be, are you willing to execute the trade? Backtesting would show you what would happen if you had the fortitude, the psychological balls to place, and for women too, their psychological ovaries to place these orders. Now, this is the problem with backtesting. And what if your backtesting results are good? Now are you going to load the wagon? And now you're like, oh, I didn't account for the spread fluctuations. Or now I'm strictly speaking, if you are going to backtest this, you need to fix your pip on your spread, and you got to find a fixed pip broker to execute it on. That's going to save you a lot of frustration, because in the strategy tester, you can fix your spread. I would fix the spread at a bad spread. Fix your spread at 5 pips, which would give you a worse performance on playback. This way you know that even if you're late to the trade, it kind of makes money. So you really want to detune the playback test to bad conditions. Put the bad conditions in there, because you know that's how it is. And there's slippage, right? They would account for the slippage too. And the slippage of you not getting to the trade in time, that's kind of like slippage, but not technically slippage. Even if you advised against backtesting, it's the first time I read this, so yeah. Well, only because you can just see it on the fucking screen. You don't need to backtest that. You can play back the market and test your forward tested and playback. Open up Strategy Tester and play back the market and ask yourself, where would I put my orders right now? Would I put a bracket trade in here? And maybe I'll do that later. I'll play back the market with a 10 pip grid. I can't always get the grids to hold through this indicator with the grid doesn't always show up in the playback. There's another grid out there that might do it. There's a different style of grid. It was written differently, might hold through that. Problem is you have to tell that grid to plot above and below a bunch of pips, because as soon as the price moves out, when you start the playback, as soon as the market starts to trade, if it trades out of the range of what you've dictated for the size of that whole grid up and down, then you're not going to see that grid, and you're not going to be able to say, oh, look at, I'm trading this breakout system with a 10 pip breakout. So, but you'll see that this is a very poor strategy overall. But it is not, it's not an overall system. This is the thing. You're not just blindly trading ATR breakout. You still have to be aware of where you're at in the context, what the meaning of the word is. You can't just, but obviously it works. Now, you could also get clobbered trading directionally one leg of this, but then of course it's not a breakout strategy. It's a breakout strategy, but it's not a hedged breakout strategy. This is just an example, and there's an amazing amount of views. Like, people like short videos, amazing amount of views on the loose money video. Pretty funny. I don't know if people are just watching over because it's so short, but still making money. But on the 1 hour on this pair, it barely made 20%. Okay, now, this is the thing. As soon as you change any dimension on anything in here, you are exponentially changing the landscape of all of your ratios across everything. Like I said, there's 20 pairs out there, 30 pairs out there that have, there's seven major pairs out there. Those are the tightest spreads on any broker any day of the week. If you trade this across 7 pairs, yeah, maybe you're getting butchered on one, but the other one's making money. So in the overall scheme of things, of course, I'm presupposing that you're not trading one thing. And in other words, you have your life. This is you, and you've got a broker account here, right? And you got a day job here. You got money coming in. In here, you're selling crack on the street or something, whatever source of income. And but imagine you've got another broker account here, and you got another broker account here. Now, if you've got all these broker accounts, and this one's trading a breakout strategy on the say you built a 5-minute breakout bot, and he's making some money, and he's very selective. Now, as you dial in the filters on here to choke it up to try to optimize, and this is because the reason why I don't believe in backtesting, because the next thing after backtesting people are going to say is, and you'll see it on the strategy tester, is optimization. You can over optimize and be totally shut out of any trades. So this account here is your scalping account. Here is your swing trading account. Here is your breakout account. Here's you. You're getting money from these accounts. You can't build, if you're going to try to tweak this thing out and then annualized over 5 years, I mean, this is ridiculous. In the next 5 years, the landscape of the markets could go from an ATR of this where you're never going to see, I don't know if this is possible, but you're never going to see the market ever trade. Imagine the wheels come off. And I'm just saying, imagine they kill the Prime Minister of Britain, the President of the United States, and Al-Qaeda kills 5 world leaders all in one day. What are these markets going to look like for the next month? You may never see a 10-pip range. It might just be like this all day long, and you're going to have to trade with, you're going to have to rewrite all your robots to look for, well, we're in a 50-pip range today. There's blood in the streets. I mean, you can't build a rigid, the problem is, with where this guy's going with this trying to, and I would have to say, you're really trying to build a holy grail, because you cannot account for next week's behavior. But what you do know is that the market cannot go like sideways forever. You're not going to see a market trade like this for the next 5 years and then break out. Now, if you look, when they go back and look at the Swiss against the dollar, the Swiss against the euro, when they had a peg, when they pegged their currency, it did trade like this. And there was a floor, and it was pegged. When they let go of that peg, we dropped 2,000 pips in like an hour or something, right? Oh, look at the chart. The hell's that? Even your limit orders are getting trashed. There is no holy grail. Backtesting is an attempt to build one. You see, you need to backtest this. Well, I would not waste my time. I've backtested before and I've gotten anxiety attacks. Not quite an attack, but I could feel it coming on. And I used to get anxiety attacks when I was a kid because I was like thinking, boy, the world's really big. I was overwhelmed. So I love this annualized per year. This guy works at a bank, so he works at a fund place, so he knows about this kind of annualized 5 years, you may not live for the next 3 years, man. So I'm just like, and this is kind of a scalping, just all in this one breakout strategy, all this, but this is the devil in the details. This is what people don't talk about. So thank God he's asking the question, because people just don't. But you can see the mindset of trying to get something that you can count on, but you can't count on the future. This is the problem. And if you, and it really, this was based on not knowing where the market's going, which I think we can all assure that we do. We really don't know how long it's going to trade sideways before it does break out. So hey, why sweat it? Throw your orders in, and if they decay in 1 hour. Another problem is that what if they decay in 15 minutes, the market finally breaks out, and like, damn it, I didn't get filled on that. How do you backtest for that? Do you run a whole nother set? Well, let me run the 15 minute, the 30 minute, the 1 hour, the 2 hour, the 3 hour, the 4 hour, and run all those scripts, and then all the way up to 4 hours. So you can literally run a 4 hour breakout. You could write that same script and say, hey, let it sit there for 4 hours. Now, when you go into Asian session, maybe you have a breakout that has 20 pip stops and it lasts for 4 hours, and it makes a ton of money, because in that one instance, or you could just, like I said, you could just manually trade it in terms of placing pending orders. Of course, you're going to have to put, if you really manually trade it, you're going to place that order, put a stop, and take profit on it. It's a lot of work. That's going to take a lot of time for a 1K. Most people aren't going to do that for a 1K. Like, I'm going to make 40 cents on this. Like, what are you, nuts? But imagine you have a basket of orders out there. You're making 40 cents here. You're making $1.20 here. At the end of the day, you made $200. You lost 50. You made 200. You're up $150 on the day. And of course, and then these markets are so dynamic that literally the market could be like this. One day it's like this, and then it starts to simmer down, and they're like, oh, you know what? It could keep, now this is when you start to think, I'm going to break out the stop bots. I'm going to turn on my EA that's a stop bot. This is why backtesting won't work, because your stop bot is going to take trades here unless you have the stop bot so sophisticated that it's going to say, do not even get in the market, because the 4 hour ATR is like this. So disregard any signals on the 15-minute ATRs. When the market's like this, disregard any, like the amount of filtering. You can't do that. It's not realistic. Otherwise, you need a 20, otherwise, so are you trading a 100K account? I don't think so. Well, who knows what size we're trading? Nobody talks about how big their account is. Maybe you've got one testicle. Do you want anybody to know that? You get those. They got fake testicles for dogs, right? Well, you don't want your dog to have low self-esteem. Are you dogs that have been, neutered, because they must still look like, they're like the big dog on the block. I don't think so. Otherwise, you're trading 20% every week at least. I don't, see, but now, not only have you built, this is the problem. So you're going to back test it, then you're going to build. And after all that's said and done, now you're going to go into the money of it, and the 20% every week, and then you're speculating on top of speculating on top of speculating. Okay, I have an EA for this strategy based on ATR. Trust me, it makes money, but on the 1 hour, a drawdown can last 2 months. I don't have the time for this. Well, I think that says it all. So, and this is the reason why people, I couldn't help this person trade, because the the impatience here, because he's smiling here. I guess this is a smiley thing. But the thing is that the patience involved, and of course, you can run an EA. Now, you can run EAs. I've done it. I've run EAs that make, I showed that one EA, I posted it. The guy goes, I need this EA. I swear to God, the equity curve's like this. Because I told the robot, give me a 2-pip spread fixed, buy. Every time the market goes up, buy. Every time it goes down, sell. Literally, this thing, starting with this much money, this is your equity curve. I'm not kidding you, but it's not realistic because it's going to get chopped, and it's not going to happen. So, and are you running these EAs on a cloud? So you're going to run this on one of those what do they call it, the virtual VPS server. You can't just, you have to manually, not manually, but you have to trade with some type of diversification. So even if this breakout bot is, maybe it's making 50%, but when you get into a situation like the depegging of the Swiss franc and your robot's running and you're like, yeah, maybe it's making money. Literally, I don't know. If you look at this, look at the 5-minute chart, look at the 1-minute chart on the Swiss franc depegging. There's not a chance to get on board. Besides, the spread is probably at 20 to 50 pips during this smash down. I'm not kidding you. If your broker doesn't have it, if your broker's got floating spreads and it's a retail broker that's not a true ECN or whatever, you like, not close to liquidity, then you're seeing spreads that are just ungodly. And there's so much, you can't be this precise about trading, is what I'm trying to say. It is a mess. And not to mention that this 20% every week, if you're also trading with hand-placed orders on this, that's going to change this number. There's so much that's going to change it. But you can't just build an EA. I mean, this is the dream of every trader. Have an EA, it makes money, but it always makes money, but. Okay. Anyways, I hope that somewhat answers the question. But and I know this guy is, he's not alone in trying to, you see EAs out there, and people that build EAs, I mean, well, I don't know. I've tried to get somebody to build an EA on the simplest thing. Like, how about every hour it just buys with a tight stop, or sells with a tight stop, or buys and sells with a tight stop? It puts on a hedge every hour. How would that perform? Who knows? And who cares? Like, I only worry about what's next week. Am I going to buy the British pound if it tanks next week? Probably buy it for bounces, but the British pound's coming unwrapped. And the fundamentals are going to say, see, Brexit's kicking in, but it doesn't matter to us that are trying to make 20 or 200 pips. We don't give a fuck about fundamentals. I don't. Just try to connect fundamentals. Imagine you can connect fundamentals to this EA. And there's supposedly fundamental EAs that go out and read the news and try to interpret it. Are you kidding me? Okay. But, anyways. So that's my, and then not to mention here, what if I ran it for 20 years and it made it all back? And we'll see. And how far do you back test? And, what Mark Douglas will tell you, and Mark Douglas is the king, I'm sorry. Listen to what he's saying. You're not going to like what he's saying, but listen to him. He's going to tell you there is no, you don't have to know where the market's going to make money, which sounds completely retarded. And the amount of time that you're in a trade doesn't matter either. Because if you're in a trend trade, you buy here, market goes up, comes back, goes up, comes back, goes up. And you get out here and you bought here. Can you see that if you got out here and you bought back here, you're making more money? Because the time you're in the market, no relation to how much money you make. If you bought here and your trailing stop got stopped out here, you would have made more money here. And here you would have only made this much. But I had my money management rules and I only made this much. I moved my stop to break even. Or how about this? You got in here, you move your stop to break even. They trounce you. It goes into the wick, and then it goes up. You need more than one EA running, that's for sure. And maybe you have three EAs running. You have a breakout system based on ATR. You've got a hand placed limits at precise pivots. And you've got a canvassing of just insane limits that are spattered all over the market, 1,000 pips deep just for kicks. The broker will let you put a buy limit in 1,000 pips deep. Unfucking believable. Never going to fill. Might fill if they kill the president. But, you know, what's the stop on that order? So you can see that you're just in a world that is very first Mark Douglas, the only Mark Douglas seminar I went to, he said to everybody in the room, draw a circle on your paper and put a dot here. And he goes, well, this is what you know about the universes here. And here's the universe. And maybe there's a universe out here. So how are you going to... There's so many possibilities. It's just like... It comes down to... Does it matter? So, does it matter... Say you're trading for entertainment. You're making $100K a year. And you've got a $500 trading account. And you're winning, you're losing. Sometimes you blow it up. Sometimes you make $2,000, then you blow it up. Sometimes you make $10,000 and you don't blow it up. So you got $5K there. Now, this typically happens, at least it happened to me. I really like being an artist and making stuff with my hands. So say I just made $10,000 here. Now I'm at $10,000, but I'm afraid that I just made so much money that I don't have to make money with my hands. I can make money with my mind now, and I can just pick places on the chart to get in. If I see myself as a person that makes money with their hands, then I'm going to find a way to blow up this account, or I'm going to have to sabotage this account. Say you weigh 300 pounds. Your dream is to fit into a Speedo, go to the beach. Of course, in Europe, I guess you can weigh 300 pounds and wear a Speedo, but you go to the beach, and your dream is you're going to pick up all the hot ladies. So now you weigh 120 pounds. You go to the beach, but you're still insecure because your whole brain's built around living in a 300-pound body. Now, to get yourself back to the comfort zone of being the fat loser you used to be, you're going to go home in depression because no chicks want to see you. Besides, you got all the skin hanging off you. And you have no game. You have no game to pick up all the bikini clad girls on the beach, and now you just go back home and start eating ice cream. Get yourself up to 300, call it a day, put on your favorite movie, and you feel safe. You got to realize that that's happening even when you're building a trading system or even back testing. That I think the anxiety comes from the energy spent. And he says here, I don't have time for this. I don't have the energy to back test. Like I could, for entertainment purposes, I could start a back test and walk away and come back. The problem is that as soon as you do that, you're going to say, let me try it with a different set of parameters. And this is when you are on the search for the Holy Grail. That's the first level of optimization. Maybe you should try it with a 10 pip spread. You kind of have to wing it. You have to look at the market and go, look at 10 pip opportunity. I'm going in, right? 10 pip opportunity, I'm going in. So you have to be a little cavalier. You have to be a little bit unhumble and just go for it. Just go for it. So that's definitely my suggestion. I don't think that the past will equal the future. What's going on right now, you're going into, if Trump becomes president, it's not as if fundamentally he's going to be able to change everything he's going to change has to go through just even the Brexit vote. Nothing has changed. Everything, all the laws are still the same. It's the perception of what the law might do. The markets are moved by anticipation. In other words, markets move. Why does the market trade sideways? There's nothing driving it. Whatever drives the next move, people will attribute that, well, it's moving because they just made a decision over in Britain, but it hasn't fundamentally. The funny thing about these fundamental people is that just because the interest rate is fundamentally changed is that the effect will not be seen for years or decades to come. And we don't even know if that's the cause and effect relationship because there's a black market. Why do you think, okay, in the United States, sorry to keep going, but the United States has bridge cards, right? They have these welfare cards, food stamps. I just saw a guy now, I don't want to make fun of this guy, but he's in line in front of me at the grocery store, and I'm buying my half and half for $1.80. He's buying Red Bull. He had quite the breakfast there. He had shredded cheese, shredded lettuce, and a Red Bull. His Red Bull cost $2.50. His shredded cheese cost like his salad cost him like $3. Now, where in the fuck did somebody not have a filter? You can't buy Red Bull on food stamps. This is not food, people. This is a drug. I'm having coffee right now. This is a drug. We shouldn't be. How does this fall into the equation? The welfare state exists. Now, people will sell their bridge cards like, okay, I've got $100 on my bridge card. If you go buy me something, I'll let you use my bridge card. And since it's free money, 50 cents on the dollar on that bridge card. There's a store here where they had security in the store. And I said, why all the security in the store? And the guy said, well, people are coming in here. There's customers we don't want to come in because they're coming in, they're buying on their food stamp cards. They are buying cans of soda, pop, and they're dumping it out, come back, and they're returning it just to get the refund on the deposit on the can. I said, you're kidding. He said, no. So they're getting 10 cents on the dollar, right? 20 cents on the dollar. There's a black market. People are gaming the system. So how are we supposed to know whether or not the Brexit, I'm sure they have welfare over there in Britain. How do we know in the whole overall scheme, not to mention we don't have another planet Earth called where we have a double-blind study where there's another planet out there, and we change one rule on that planet, how's the overall outcome? Presupposing everybody on that planet is doing the same behavior, it's not a place you want to go. If you start to fine-tune, in EA, it's no different than the government, the new president saying, well, what we're going to do is we're going to slash taxes. Great idea. As soon as you do that, well, now you're going to, what are you going to do when all the welfare state people, don't forget, all these people that work for the government, what are they going to do for a living now? They have a job where they don't have to perform very well. Maybe they have a guaranteed job. Maybe they're a school teacher. They have seniority. They're a complete idiot, but they've been working there longer. They can't be fired. This is why you have all these morons coming out of school. Well, the whole thing is just top heavy with administration. Politics is a wheelhouse of fun. There is no, it doesn't matter who's president. In a way, it doesn't matter who's president because we're all living our own lives. There's a black market that you have. Who knows if the prosperity is not coming from the black market? Do we know? The Swiss bank accounts, the rich people hide their money. People are putting artwork. People are laundering money on eBay, selling artwork that looks like shit for high money. Because the transaction, right? There's a million loopholes. There is no, like, people are like, well, you know, if they would have changed this law, you think people are obeying the law? Well, you know, guns are illegal to, oh, well, that should stop murder. What? Now just apply that logic that just because there's a rule, and just because you have this EA that you built, market doesn't care. Markets are like, you have to know when this setup is occurring, and these all this stuff, the fact that you're able to trade should in and of itself, the fact that you're allowed to trade should be success right there. Only speaking from a person that when I had to place a trade, I had to call a phone and a human got on the line, and this guy's going to judge my trade, and these people would say, really? You want to do that trade? I'm like, shut the fuck up. It's not your account. I'm not trading your account. I'm trading my account. When Forex came, that psychological burden was gone. I could just press a button. Now it's on me. Nobody knows. And my broker's not like, if the broker's got 5,000 clients and they're on servers, you think they're looking at my account going, look at this fucking idiot. He thinks he's going to trade this EA on breakouts. Yeah. It's not like that. So I don't know if that helps.